Hi everyone, welcome to our first meeting of March. This is our Jupyter contributors meeting, and it is the first meeting of the month. So we're going to be prioritizing accessibility topics. If you haven't signed in to the agenda, please take a moment to do so. Jason shared the link to the agenda in the chat earlier, and I just shared it once more for anyone who missed it. We have a few people typing in, and we have first up one of our accessibility topics from Jen, who is here with us right now. So, Jen, if you'd like to take it away.
Sure, thank you. Okay, so, and I think my collaborator Thomas might be joining. Oh yeah, I see his name just popped up. So we work at Space Telescope. We've been here before. And there is an internal grant that comes around twice a year. And we are putting together a proposal for this grant this time. We didn't end up putting it in last time. Um, so we're working on getting some of that together. So first of all, I'm just letting you all know about that. And the grant would be to work on accessibility in Jupyter. Um, and then in particular, I wanted to check in. I know that there was accessibility grants given by the like Jupyter, uh, and there's QuantStack is working on one of those grants. And I wanted to check in on that project and see if there is any potential for collaboration with if our grant, if we get the money. And um, yeah, so that's the general topic that I wanted to see if anyone knew more about. But I don't see anyone from that team here, so I don't know if anyone even could could talk about it.
Guess Ian, but I don't know. Ian knows, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
Jeremy as well. Not to put you two on the spot, sorry about that.
Fine, I know nothing. So yeah, I am from QuantStack, as is Jeremy, but I don't know anything about that particular work. I think the person who we would speak to would be Matthias, but he is on leave today, so I guess that's why he's not here. Darian probably knows he's not here either, or Isabel, who's not here either. So sorry.
So
Okay.
I can speak to that. I saw some activity and merged the pull request, improving accessibility by fixing an issue around the outline indicator, which I suppose is part of that project. And there is a new issue discussing like improving the CSS variables for accessible indicators. So there is something happening. I can at least say that, but I don't know. So what we try to do with a couple of other proposals is I put up this board for tracking the progress, but it's completely completely not required in any way. So if you end up working at accessibility at the same time as the other group does, maybe uh, having some kind of a project on shared GitHub organization could be useful in general.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
And did you say the people who might know more or be directly involved? Was that Matthias who was involved in that?
He is certainly the person I would ask to find out if he's literally the person involved, or he would know the person otherwise. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we've emailed before, so I can follow up with him.
Sure. I mean, I'll post a message now on our internal Zulip, but it might not get a response within the next half hour.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
Um,
Is there a way that Matthias and you can connect? That you've already connected? Do you have a way to connect outside this meeting? I guess is what I meant.
Yeah. We had sent an email before the last time we were going through this, so I think I still have his contact information.
Excellent.
I guess the should be a Google group an email address for the Accessibility Council. I think it's the group is not active, not meeting actively, but if you wanted to reach more people with interest in accessibility, sending an email to that address could be useful.
Yeah, do you happen to have that handy?
I will try to find it and share that in the chat.
Go ahead and put it in the notes doc as well.
Okay, I think if that's cue to go on to the next item on the agenda, I think for I think up next is Mike.
Okay, so I will find that email later. I wanted to mention that the ESLint plugin for Jupyter and the repository, I've reviewed that and moved it under JupyterLab organization. It is published on NPM under the Jupyter organization. Because it uses ESLint 9, it will not be as straightforward for some extensions to adopt because they would need to move to ESLint 9, but this is still highly recommended given that ESLint 8 doesn't get some security updates anymore and everything basically moved to 9. So we'll try to also upgrade the extension template to use the new version. But that is also unfortunately a larger migration. It no longer supports the config in package.json, which is funny because the last time when we did a migration to a newer version, we essentially moved all the config to package.json, and now we need to move it back out to a separate file at standard change. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we also started working on the plugin playground. And if anyone is interested in how to make prototyping plugins for Jupyter easier, I would very much welcome you to observe the activity on this repository. For example, there is a pull request which was opened just an hour ago, which is adding a sidebar with a list of tokens. And we are discussing how it could what the functionality could be. Like we are adding the descriptions, and I suggested that maybe there should be a button to quickly insert the import for any given plugin to the editor. Maybe it could even be that you would insert a prompt to AI chat application. That's also one of the objectives here, is to integrate that with both Jupyter Lite AI and Jupyter AI. Basically making it as easy as possible to create proof of concept plugins for any use case and make the interface fully customizable this way. And I think that's all that I wanted to mention outside of the usual. Please help reviewing pull requests. We do get a lot of pull requests on the JupyterLab repository. I think we managed to get under 190. It's pretty far from the happy flat level of 110 that we managed to maintain last year. I blame that in part on AI and part that I had to take 3 weeks off. But yeah, if you are able to help review changes, especially think about the API design or on the UX of features that are proposed, that would be hugely appreciated. It doesn't need to be a very long, detailed review, because again, we are in the era where AI tools help fill in a niche, and they can probably catch the typos or any other code inconsistencies. What is much more needed and sought for is the actual human opinion on what JupyterLab and, as a consequence, Notebook and other interfaces should include, and what APIs we want to expose, build, and maintain across different applications. That's everything from me.
Thank you, Mike. I think maybe if we are, I think the agenda allows for us to go back to accessibility, because I see in the chat that Isabel has connected. So maybe we want to open up the floor for Isabel and Ian. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I provide some continuity for Isabel, who's just arrived yet. So, and in fact, Jen's left, hasn't she? So Jen was asking about, some updates on accessibility. Isabel is involved in the work. I don't know. So I'm going to have to put Thomas on the spot, I suppose. Can you pretend to be Jen to ask the questions to Isabel?
Yeah, we well, what we've been doing at Space Telescope is working on a proposal, or that for funding, that every 6 months there's an opportunity to do these sorts of strategic or longer term projects. And actually, what Jen didn't mention is that once every 4 of those cycles, there's an opportunity to do something even bigger and longer term, and get a little bit more money for the project. So this is sort of like a perfect timing for us in terms of the resources available, and we were trying to figure out what was going on the QuantStack side of things. We know that there was a grant that the QuantStack team got to do this sort of work, and I think they're planning on working with a school for people who are blind or low vision, and having them actually test out some of the Jupyter interface stuff. So that's a very long-winded way to ask the question: what is QuantStack currently doing with accessibility?
Hi, so I'm Isabel, and I guess I can answer that question. So basically what we are focusing on is keyboard navigation. So we want to make sure that JupyterLab can be fully navigated with the keyboard. And yeah, I guess that's a big overview. And I've merged a couple PRs already, and I'm working on focus indicators right now. I can share a link to I'm currently working on. And yeah, I hope that answers the question. And yes, there will be some testing with a school in Paris. I don't know the details about that because I'm not in Paris, but that will be later on.
Is there a high level tracking overview of the work that you're setting out to do, where we are in that work and things like that?
No, I'm just keeping track of it on my notes, but I can make something if that's needed.
I'll mention, Mike, I see you just unmuted. You're doing some of the stuff for the community proposals, I think, that you're doing, and it's really helpful for the community to sort of keep tabs on the work that's being done.
Yes, so we, because we have 4 proposals, and it takes quite some time to track of it, even internally. And because most of them address things under JupyterLab organization, I created this CFP tracking board or project on GitHub. And we could add another category for accessibility topics, and you could use that, if that makes sense. So then on the issues that you plan to work on for the accessibility CFP, you'd just select the project and then add the proposal accessibility label, and then it will be kind of easy to see which things you plan to work on and which are already started, etc. And I think it's not very time consuming to use this board, because when you close an issue, it automatically changes its status. When you link a PR, it will automatically add that, etc. Or maybe we could even configure it that to pull new issues with certain label, if that's easier. There is some degree of automation that GitHub offers for project boards. But again, that's not compulsory. If tracking that differently makes more sense, that could also be tracked in a separate repo or whatever.
That may also be helpful, at least in terms of coordinating some of that work. If we do, I am trying to be optimistic despite the current state of how we're spending the federal funding at the moment and what those priorities are. But if we do get approved for this, I mean, it would be a level of work that is somewhere around the order of magnitude of like one full-time developer over 3 years who thinks about nothing except for this, which would be extraordinary, right? I mean, that would really make a huge difference. So again, we can talk about that a little bit more down the road, but I think Isabel in particular, however it would work best so that we are communicating about these things, so that we're planning the project together, so that we're not, you know, stepping on each other's toes, or we're each creating separate pull requests for the same thing. That might get important if we do if we are successful on this proposal.
That's one FTE for several years working on Jupyter accessibility.
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, that would be phenomenal. Thank you.
Hey,
We'll see.
listen, we still have to get this proposal through. We have to see if it, the institute finds it compelling, but I think we have a strong case, so I'm hoping we'll get some of that time at least.
Do you have a timeline on that, on the proposal process?
Yes, I do. I was actually just looking at it today, so I can I have it open right here in my other window. Because of the size of this and the amount of money, we have already submitted a letter of intent. We have to give them a 2-page outline by the 13th of March. The final submission deadline will be the 15th of May. There's like a review process in there where we get feedback from scientists at the institute, and we're allowed to, try to take their feedback into account. And then we'll actually know if we have the money sometime in June. So the work wouldn't start any earlier than that. And in practice, I don't know that we have the experience at the institute to do a lot of this development work. So we may end up, contracting with someone, and so then that takes extra time. But starting this summer, right, if we get approved, we'll know in June. That's when they'll notify us if we've been accepted or not.
Awesome. I highly recommend sending an email to the Jupyter Accessibility Group. And thanks for coming here. I think your proposal gets a lot stronger if you can show that the community, like there's receptiveness in the community towards this work, right? That it's a collaborative
Absolutely.
joint effort. Yeah.
Well, and actually, that's one thing where there's space in the proposal to have a statement of support, or those types of letters put in. So partially, I was hoping that someone at Quantstack might be interested in saying, we're already doing this work, we want to collaborate. I don't know how we get something on official Project Jupyter letterhead that says, please do this. But that there's a way to do that, or to, send an email to this community group and say, what do you all think? That would actually be enormously helpful for our proposal.
My suggestion is working with a sub-project, but then also send an email to the Jupyter Executive Council, who would be, I think, the people to put something on a Jupyter letterhead if there was such a thing. Yeah, you could sort of work the levels, both levels here.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. I'm making a note of that right now.
So I have two more suggestions. One is Quansite, not as a to differentiate Quanstack versus Quansite. Quansite was previously involved. Might also, I think Tanya might be able to suggest some things on the proposal itself. I think she might be on the mailing list already. But to get recommendations, I know that this topic of accessibility was discussed among universities which are part of Jupyter Foundation, and that it was mentioned by many research organizations and universities. I think Y2C is another organization which has contacts with lots of institutes, research organizations, etc. in the United States, who are all subject to the laws regarding accessibility, and they are all very interested in having Jupyter, making Jupyter more accessible. So if that is useful to get a kind of recommendation from other universities or other institutes, whatever, then reaching out to these groups might be useful. I do not know how to reach out to Jupyter Foundation members directly. I know that there is a subgroup who had interest, but I think reaching out to Y2C is pretty easy.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got I have the executive council, the foundation. There was one other group that you mentioned that was interested in this work, and I didn't quite take my notes quickly enough for that one. Thank you.
Posted that in the chat.
Thank you.
To me, it feels like this is a big enough effort that it could be a catalyst, right? The QuantStack work that was funded with the community proposal was sort of a very scoped, let's get something done this year, temporary in a sense, effort to move the ball forward and everything. But what you're talking about is much bigger, over several years type of thing. It would be helpful to see if we can use that to consolidate an effort. Like we could build an effort on top of this from interested parties. So yeah, please kick off a conversation around this. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the mailing list email, and I'll send something out and see how many replies we get.
I think it'd be helpful to send an email to all of them at once, so it's one conversation rather than like 3 separate conversations, and we'll see what we can do to move the ball forward.
Got it. Yes. Well, thank you all very much. That's helpful, and it is nice to it is nice to see some enthusiasm from the Jupyter community. I think it's one of those things that's really challenging for us as an institution that I would say is extremely heavily dependent on Jupyter infrastructure to convince our leadership that maybe we should actually be supporting the community for tools that we consider to be essential to our work. But I think having some positivity from the community will help that message be received a little bit more easily. So thank you all.
You're not alone. You're not the only one here saying we're trying to convince our companies to invest in this.
Thank you all for the discussion. I think up next is some events, announcements for events. And I believe I'm not sure who pasted those in, but if not, I can go through these. Okay, so the The first one is SciPy 2026. The talk submission deadline is today. So if you were planning on a submission, I think maybe only a few hours are left. Um, I'm not sure if there's anybody here who's like open to sharing if they are submitting to SciPy, just for those that may be curious or anything like that.
Sure. My team and I have submitted the same talk we gave at JupyterCon about upgrading open source packages to SciPy. And the challenge will be figuring out how to generalize it beyond the Jupyter community.
Awesome. Wishing you the best of luck in getting your talk accepted. Hopefully we get to see it there as well.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm not hearing anything else. Oh, so there's another event here, and that's more this is the Jupyter AI workshop that's coming up, and it's set for March 18th through the 19th in both Seattle and Paris. So I believe that workshop, I'm actually not sure if registration for that is closed. And
I think registration is very much open. I'm finding the
open.
link.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'll be a blog post or some social media outreach about it coming up very soon. Yeah, scrolling back through to find the link. I'll post it here.
Thanks, Jason. I was also looking for it, but I didn't seem to.
Right, posted in the chat and on the notes.
For anyone who would like to attend, I just stress that the location for Paris listed on the main page is different from the location that you see in the venue information part. So just a heads up to double check where it actually is when you plan your travel and arrangements.
Yeah, I think at one point it was going to be at the Quantstack office, and then they found a different building that was more centrally located. Mike, can you ping Jake or Zach to have them update that so it's consistent?
Yeah, we'll do so.
Thanks for sharing that, Mike. I also I remember hearing this, but I forgot about it at some point. I think maybe I'll share this other link, which is the more general link at the very bottom there. You can see all of the upcoming workshops. So there's the roadmap workshop has already happened. The roadmap workshop for Jupyter Hub and Binder has already happened, but there is another workshop coming up at the end of March, the security tooling sprint, which you can also register for. The registration for that is open. And then I think I saw in the chat, Mike, you brought up another PR for some visibility.
Yes, PR 18570, linking it again. That touches on the screen reader behavior, harmonizing that, and also on some other tab navigation related behaviors, which to me sounds reasonable or maybe even correct. But the caveat is I have not worked on accessibility related topics in a while. So I might be missing some things. I know that there are folks working on accessibility on this call, so if you would like to quickly have a look and see whether that will make sense or try it out on Binder, that shouldn't be too time consuming because it should be already built, or if not, it will be available soon. And provide any feedback. I would highly appreciate that and will help merging this PR sooner than later.
Thanks, Mike, for sharing that. I think there's still a few members of the teams working on accessibility, so hopefully get some feedback there. I think that is, let me double check. I think that was the last item in the agenda, and we don't have anybody adding anything last minute, I think. So that brings us to the end. I think we can go off record for any off the record topics that anybody wants to discuss. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today. It's great to hear about the accessibility work that's going on, and I think we will see you all next time. We'll stick around for the off the record portion.